Welcome to 8-Minute Masterpieces, where we explore the most powerful works of literature in just 8 minutes. Today, we're diving into one of the most controversial and influential novels of the 20th century, Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. If you're a fan of epic stories that challenge society, philosophy, and the human spirit, you're in the right place. Stick around to the end for a special treat. Before we get started, don't forget to like this video. Subscribe to the channel for more literary breakdowns, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you read Atlas Shrugged? What are your thoughts on Ayn Rand's ideas? Let's get a conversation started. Now, let's jump in. In a world teetering on the brink of collapse, a group of brilliant industrialists and thinkers silently withdraw from society, leaving behind a crumbling civilization. At its core, Atlas Shrugged is a story about individualism, the power of the human mind, and the consequences of a society that rejects them. The novel is set in a dystopian United States where the government has taken control of businesses and innovation is stifled by regulations. At the heart of the story is Dagny Taggart, the strong and determined vice president of Taggart Transcontinental, a railroad company. Dagny struggles to keep her company alive in the face of mounting political pressure and the mysterious disappearance of the country's greatest industrialists. Dagny represents the spirit of achievement and competence, fighting against a tide of mediocrity that threatens to overwhelm her. She refuses to surrender to a world that seems determined to crush the best and brightest. Her greatest ally is Hank Rearden, a steel magnate who creates an innovative metal stronger than anything ever known. Rearden and Dagny form a powerful bond, not just as business partners but as intellectual equals. As the world crumbles around them, as Dagny and Hank fight to save their businesses, a single name keeps surfacing: John Galt. But who is John Galt? He is a shadowy figure, the driving force behind a strike that is sweeping the nation. A strike not of workers, but of the most productive members of society. Galt is a brilliant inventor, but he chooses to disappear, leaving the world to collapse under its own weight. Galt's philosophy is simple: if society demands that the best and brightest sacrifice themselves for the greater good, then the most productive people have no choice but to walk away. He convinces other industrialists, thinkers, and creators to join him, leaving behind a society that has grown dependent on their innovation. This is the heart of the novel's philosophy. Rand's idea of objectivism, which champions individualism, self-interest, and capitalism as the highest virtues. The government's increasing control, portrayed through a series of absurd regulations, serves as a critique of collectivism and socialism. As more industrialists vanish, society begins to crumble, and the world spirals into chaos. Dagny refuses to give up, determined to find out who John Galt is and what has caused the nation's best and brightest to disappear. Dagny eventually finds John Galt in a hidden utopia, a place where the industrialists and creators have gathered to live free from government interference. Galt reveals his plan: to let the world collapse under the weight of its own incompetence. Only then would the productive members of society return and rebuild on their terms. Dagny is torn. On one hand, she admires Galt's vision, but on the other, she feels a deep responsibility to save the world she's left behind. This internal conflict is central to the novel's message. While the mind is the source of all human progress, society demands that the mind be sacrificed for the collective good. Galt's philosophy is a direct challenge to this. He believes that reason, individualism, and capitalism are the only means by which human beings can truly thrive. Rand uses Galt's character to present her philosophy in full force, especially in a climactic radio broadcast where Galt declares that the mind is mankind's ultimate tool, and that to force the mind to serve others is to destroy it. Dagny's journey to understand and embrace this philosophy mirrors the novel's broader struggle between the mind and the state. But the question remains: will society collapse entirely, or will Galt's revolution succeed? The climax of the novel occurs when Galt is captured by the government and forced to reveal his secrets. They want him to save the collapsing world, but Galt refuses. Instead, he gives a powerful speech, the longest monologue in the novel, outlining Rand's philosophy in detail. He speaks of the sanctity of the individual mind, the importance of self-interest, and the dangers of a society that demands self-sacrifice. In the end, the government collapses under its own inefficiency, and Galt is rescued by Dagny and the other industrialists. The novel concludes with the collapse of society, but there is hope. The creators, the thinkers, and the innovators have survived, and they are ready to rebuild the world in their own image. The final message of Atlas Shrugged is one of hope and empowerment, that human beings, when free to think and act for themselves, can achieve greatness. But when the mind is shackled by force or obligation, society crumbles. And that's a wrap on Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged. This novel challenges readers to think about the role of the individual in society, the value of innovation, and the consequences of government overreach. Whether you agree with Rand's ideas or not, there's no denying the lasting impact of this work. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you side with John Galt, or do you think Dagny should have stayed to save the world? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like this video if you found it interesting, and subscribe to 8-Minute Masterpieces for more literary breakdowns. See you next time.